The state will push for life in prison for Nicholas Ninow. The 22-year-old confessed to raping a 7-year-old girl in the toilet of the Dros restaurant in Silverton, Pretoria last year. The child testified in camera at the North Gauteng High Court this morning. In his plea, Ninow said he was under the influence of alcohol and drugs at the time of the incident last September. The self-confessed child rapist also pleaded guilty to defeating the ends of justice and possession of drugs, but not to assault. The National Prosecuting Authority says the state would make closing arguments today and would call for a life sentence for Ninow. The Not in My Name movement earlier said it was unhappy about the child testifying as it would further traumatize her. Well, for more on this story, we cross to our reporter Molemo-waOne Mothoa, who's standing by for us. What's the latest where you are?
Good afternoon. We're coming live to you from the Pretoria North Gauteng High Court. The state has closed its case against Nicholas Ninow, who pleaded guilty on Monday of raping the 7-year-old girl at the Dros restaurant last year, September. We also have heard that he pleaded guilty to the charge of being possession of drugs and as well as defeating the ends of justice, but he has refuted the charge of assault. So this morning the child testified in camera, meaning that all the spectators or people who are not allowed by law to be inside the court were excluded. The mother also testified in private, where she was relating, the events of that day, telling the court of how she struggled to find her child, whom she left with the child minder at the kiddies corner, only to later find her inside the toilet being blocked by Ninow. The NPA earlier said that the family and friends were actually assured that this was not to put the child in that traumatic space where she had to now relive the traumatic events, but to rather rebut Ninow's testimony, as it consisted of a lot of inconsistencies. But here with me now, I am standing with Mayor Bathabile Dlamini, the president of ANC Women's League, just to hear from Mama Bathabile. You have been here since morning, during the proceedings. What's your make of what you have heard?
Firstly, I think we must recognize the support from other organizations, not in my name, students' organizations, and those that are women and men against child abuse. And secondly, the whole situation is traumatic. I felt that the mother of the child experienced secondary trauma because she had to relive what happened that day, and some of the things she did not mention, and the defense is using those things to question her credibility, because if you say, why didn't you say this at the beginning, you are saying you are an incredible witness, you are a liar. And so that in itself is a problem. But also the perpetrator is sitting there nicely. There is someone who is speaking on his behalf, but also he has pleaded guilty, and when he gives his statement, he changes the narrative, and you hear through the questions that are asked from the mother that he used the panty or the clothes of the child to clean his private parts, threw it into the toilet basin, and flushed it, the toilet pan, and flushed that. And why would he do that? And it's just sad, but I'm personally happy about the judge because he is awake. You know, some of the things happen when you have not marked properly your exhibits. This is what happened just at the beginning. That could spoil the whole case. Thank you.
All right, there was Mama Batabile Dlamini, the president of the ANC Women's League. For now, the court has just adjourned to allow the defense to get further instructions. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks very much for that report. That's my colleague Molemo-waOne Mothoa, just reporting from the Gauteng High Court there, Nzinga.